Smartphone, tablet, laptop, these are all things we own and use every single day. But take all three of those things and slap them all on a desk, and that's a lot of desk clutter that you don't want dragging around with you all the time. What if there was something that could replace all of them at once? That's not a sleazy car salesman pitch, but actually one that I was thinking of since this device was announced, the iPad Mini 6, a tablet that you could technically hold in one hand like a smartphone. And Apple has been marketing their iPads as laptop replacements for quite a while now. So why don't we try to put all of that to the test at once and try to do all three with this one singular device? So here's what it was like using nothing but the iPad Mini as my phone, my iPad, and computer. Let's get started with a little review. Full disclosure, I realize a similar experiment was done by Jonathan Horst over at Mac Address over a year ago, but I wanted to see if this concept could extend further than just a replacement for your phone and tablet and encompass computers as well. Hopefully that means I come in with a bit of a different perspective. And also, my phone was out of commission for a couple weeks due to a swollen battery. So I thought to myself, why not try to use the iPad Mini as my phone? And that was kind of the basis for this video. Let's start off by talking about how we can make the iPad Mini much more phone-like. See, the base model iPad Mini would not work for this experiment because it lacks 5G support, meaning if you took the base model iPad Mini to a place without Wi-Fi, it would not work unless you use a phone or other hotspot-capable device to give it Wi-Fi. For the purpose of this video, I actually have a cellular 5G model of the iPad Mini 6, which retails for about $650 MSRP. This iPad is pretty expensive and is slightly more expensive than the iPhone 13 mini that Apple still sells. But you do get some benefits like a much larger screen, a USB-C port, and a fingerprint sensor. However, there are also trade-offs like less cameras and lower camera quality, no wireless charging, no Face ID, no portable form factor, and no OLED display. Basically, if this was a phone in Apple's lineup, it'd be something of a iPhone SE Max Ultra Plus, or whatever Apple would name an oversized phone. I don't know. They kind of just keep changing their naming schemes. The reason we need the 5G variant of the iPad Mini is because this is what allows us to get connected to the internet no matter where you are, just like your smartphone. However, just like your smartphone, you need a data plan for the iPad. I actually managed to take one of my phone carrier SIM cards and just slap it in the iPad, and data works fine. However, you can also set up eSIM data plans if that's how you like to do things. Now that we have this set up, we need to be able to make calls and message people. This is where it gets kind of complex. There's two ways to do this. The first is what I consider cheating, because if you already own an iPhone, you can use Handoff, a feature that sends messages and phone calls that you have on your phone directly to your other Apple devices, as long as they're connected to the internet. If our goal is to completely get rid of our phone, we don't want to have to rely on a phone as a middleman who routes calls and messages to this device. We want it to be able to stand on its own without another cellular phone. Instead, we'll assume that you don't have a phone, just this iPad. Then we need a way to make phone calls and send messages. I mean, by default, you can send FaceTime calls and send iMessages to your friends and family, but not everyone nor all businesses have an Apple device. We need something that works for everyone. We need a VoIP. A VoIP is a phone that uses the internet as the phone connection instead of a traditional phone line. To make things easy, I went with Google Voice. Google Voice lets you freely create a phone number, but you also need to verify that you're legit by using a different phone number at setup so that they know you're not a spam bot abusing their services or trying to promote hot singles in your area ads. That's actually the only time you'll need a phone because they'll send you a verification code. So I guess I kind of lied. That's the only part you need a phone for. But beyond that, I promise you, you won't need a phone anymore. From there, everything is super easy. Google Voice behaves just like your phone. You can dial phone numbers, save contacts, send messages, receive notifications, and you can even have a voicemail for your favorite extended warranty person to use. It just works, and all through this single Google Voice app. Okay, let's slow down a little bit. Maybe you're on a budget, but don't want to do this crazy experiment of turning your iPad into a phone and computer replacement. Maybe your phone bill is just too high and you're thinking of other ways to lower your overall costs. That's where today's partner comes into play, Mint Mobile. You've probably seen their funny ads with Ryan Reynolds, but this time they had to reach far into their budget for a less funny person. me. Mint Mobile offers premium 5G wireless plans with unlimited talk and text for as low as $15 a month without any sacrifices on coverage, speed, or data. They keep their costs low by selling online. That means they don't have any retail stores or salespeople that contribute to a higher cost. And if that's not enough, you can also create affordable family plans with as few as 2 lines. Switching to Mint Mobile is actually really easy. You can go to their site, then pick a plan, and when you check out, you can select between a physical SIM card or an eSIM to quickly get your phone up and running with Mint Mobile. And if you run into any issues that you can't resolve by yourself, Mint Mobile's customer service team is there to help you through it. Before I accepted this partnership, I had to be sure that their service was good. And I can say that the whole process between ordering a plan on an eSIM to the installation process was easy. And the service itself is great. I found Mint Mobile to cover all the areas my usual carrier covers. The speeds are good, and I can enjoy all of my calls, 5G video streaming, mobile gaming, and texts. So if you're interested in reliable coverage and fast data for a fraction of the cost, go to mintmobile.com/JimmyTries. It'll also be in the video description box below, or you can scan the QR code displayed on your screen to learn more. Anyway, back to the video. Now, to replace a computer, I obviously needed a mouse and a keyboard. Ideally, I'd just go completely first party and use the Magic Keyboard that Apple sells. Those have a built-in keyboard and trackpad. Those are only available on the larger iPad Air and iPad Pro model. There isn't one for the Mini. Instead, I'm using this standard Apple case and slapped a small Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to it. iPadOS already has a bunch of nice features that lets an iPad behave similar to a laptop. There's been controversial Apple commercials over using it like a computer, and I actually have a video on that same topic if you're interested. It is a little outdated now, but still worth a watch, so I won't go into those topics too much. But the iPad mini does have some very laptop-like function. You can plug in external displays. You can use a USB hub and plug in multiple devices. You can move files between different storage devices, have multiple windows open side by side on the screen, and use mice and keyboards. Because of the size of the iPad mini, we won't ever be using this iPad mini on our lap. So now we have a complete 3-in-1 device. Phone, tablet, and computer. But how well does it do each of those things? Let's start by talking about how it is as a phone, then computer. We already know how it performs as a tablet. It's kind of what it is already. And there's already a great review for this iPad from this channel right here. Awesome guy. Definitely subscribe there. As a phone, it actually fits in my front pocket, but it's just not comfortable. I'm a pretty tall guy. I wear pretty big pants, and sliding the iPad into my pocket like a phone restricts my movement, making it uncomfortable to have it there for long periods of time. It's more comfortable in the back pocket, but obviously when you sit down, you need to move it back to the front pocket or risk bending your iPad, swelling the battery, and starting a fire. Please, don't do that. It's a lot easier if you wear a bag big enough to carry it, like a fanny pack, sling bag, or purse. Portability of this device is really not great as a phone. Now this next part, it might be too much information, but here goes. Okay, we all use the toilet, and when we're sitting on the toilet, oftentimes you're just scrolling on your phone. And when you need to wipe, you just place it in your pants pocket, then proceed to do your business. But with an iPad, while scrolling through content is much better on the toilet, I like looking at things with bigger text, I guess. That must mean I'm getting old. Where do you put the iPad when you need to wipe? It won't easily go into your pants pocket. Does it go on the potentially nasty floor, the water hump of the toilet? I couldn't figure that out. Let me know what you think is the right place to put it, because I really don't know. But functionally, it works fine as a phone, but you have to get used to a few things. Calls are technically always on speaker since the iPad mini doesn't have an earpiece, so if you want some privacy, you'll want to keep some Bluetooth earbuds or AirPods with you. And some services that have you sign up with your phone number think Google Voice numbers are bots and won't let you use that Google Voice number to sign up for services or be used as a two-factor authenticated number, which is a huge bummer since you're giving up some security functionality, but also understandable because of the type of phone number you're using. Also, there's really no customer support if things don't work well on Google Voice. It doesn't seem like a huge priority for Google. While there are a ton of iPad optimized apps, there are also a lot of apps that are only made for iPhones, and using those aren't the greatest experience on such a large screen. Also, if you live in a car-centric society like the US, you probably use a car that might have Apple CarPlay. iPads don't support Apple CarPlay. Just something interesting to keep in mind. Now let's talk about what it's like using it as a computer replacement instead. Using it to casually surf the internet and do basic things like email, watching videos, and editing documents, the screen is absolutely tiny for these type of tasks. It's really hard to find a good angle to use it unless it's far away from you, and when you do have something displayed, You're not likely to use it in split screen mode with multiple apps because the screen is so tiny that you already have a hard time seeing just one app on the display. Or you could connect it to an external monitor instead. So it's really bad as a laptop, but it does make an okay desktop since you can plug it in. But that comes with one major drawback. The monitor only mirrors what's already on the iPad screen. So you get these giant black bars on standard size monitors because the iPad's display has a more boxy aspect ratio. And you don't really gain additional screen real estate, just a bigger display. This does help with seeing what you draw using the Apple Pencil on a much larger display, and it does make it easier to use split screen mode and have multiple apps on the display at once versus the tiny screen of the iPad mini itself. I'd like to mention though that the higher end iPads, the iPad Air and iPad Pro, have the M series chips, which actually enable you to use external monitors as an extension of the iPad instead of screen mirroring. So you can actually have different things on the monitor and your iPad at the same time, but this mini does not have that chip, and this functionality is locked strictly to those chips. But if the iPad mini gets one of those M chips, I can see people using the iPad mini decently as a makeshift desktop for basic computing, but it would still be an awful laptop replacement compared to the other iPads. But on the other hand, the iPad Airs and iPad Pros make pretty decent laptop and desktop replacements, but not a very good phone replacement. They're absolutely massive. Also, the 64GB storage default for the Mini is usable, but not the best option when it's used solely as a tablet. But when you try to do the job of 3 different devices, the 256GB model makes much more sense because you will run out of space on the 64GB model really quick. I'm guessing at this point in the video, you're thinking of telling me, Jimmy, what were you expecting? With a device this size, how can you expect it to be a good phone, tablet, and computer replacement all rolled into a single device? Well, I had high expectations of this iPad mini because that device kind of already exists. It's just not an Apple product. It's Samsung's Z Fold lineup, a regular but slightly bulky smartphone when folded, a tablet-sized device when open, and a decent general computer when connected via USB-C using Samsung DeX. I mean, is it even the perfect solution, and does it resolve every issue that we've discussed in this video so far? Oh, absolutely not. And at an MSRP of $1,800, it's definitely not budget friendly, and it's actually cost prohibitive to a ton of people. But what it does do is provide a good glimpse into what could potentially be the future. A single device that can handle all of your different computing needs, whether that be a phone, tablet, or computer. So I guess at this point, it's conclusion time. The iPad mini does tablet things great, phone things just okay, and computer things not so great. But it was never intended to be, well, all those things. We kind of just shoehorned it into this situation. That being said, would I recommend using it as your only device for all your computing needs? No, but you already knew that. You're better off taking that same money and getting an iPhone SE and a 9th generation iPad if you must stay in the Apple ecosystem. But with more rumors about foldable devices like the Pixel Fold and potential Apple Foldable and Apple Silicon chips already inside of Apple computers, the idea of having just one device serving multiple roles may not be too far off into the future. Anyway, what do you personally think? Would you ever consider using just an iPad as your phone? Are foldables the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this little experiment, give it a like, and well, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Bye.